lot of times, directly or indirectly, we tend to play down on the importance of a support system, perhaps because we tend to have a smooth ride all the way through life. Again, pause for a minute and reflect on how life would be like if you perhaps never had a mother or father figure, or perhaps you simply had the absence of none in your life. How would life have been like without these? That brings us to the crux of our main discourse on today's episode, where we will be discussing with a fellow whose challenges, dreams, and of course his reality would in fact inspire you as an orphan. Of course, we will be talking about how successful he has been, struggling all through life as an individual without the absence or without the presence of his parents. All of these and more will be coming your way shortly. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.
An orphanage is a residential institution or group home devoted to the care of orphans and children who for various reasons cannot be cared for by their biological families. The parents may be deceased, absent, or abusive. There may be substance abuse or mental illness in the biological home, or the parents may simply be unwilling to take care of the child. The legal responsibility of the support of abandoned children differs from country to country and within countries. Some adopted children face the challenges of acquiring a sense of belonging, and the adoptive parent also face the challenges of adopting a child who may develop some form of deformity or abnormal undesirable behaviors later in life. Others are illegal adoption fraud, which is a criminal act and involves establishing illegal adoption agencies and orphanages, obtaining money from adoptive parents under false pretense, wrongful adoption, and exploitation.
And of course, like we said earlier, we will be talking to a fellow by name Mr. Ejike Nwokwor. He is someone who hails from Enugu State, and of course, as an orphan, he had his primary and secondary education in Enugu State. Life was indeed challenging for him as an orphan, and of course, Mr. Ejike struggled as he led a life through school all alone, studied medicine, and of course, did surgery at the University of Jos in Plateau State. Later on, he moved on and worked both as a general practitioner and of course as a trainee in different hospitals and other bodies in and around Nigeria. He also went further into trade and of course majored mainly in the supplies of medical equipment to hospitals and of course to other institutions. And currently he is training in and as a psychiatrist in the United States of America. Currently he is happily married and of course shares a beautiful daughter with his wife. Shortly, we will be bringing him on as he shares his story with us, and of course, very inspiring one indeed, and you would be left with a point or two to pick from his story. So joining us right about now is Mr. Ejike. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me in your program.
All right, some time ago, I stumbled on your tweet about your experience in life, which of course, gave me some level of assurance that it can always be better, looking at your experience as an orphan. But of course, for those who are just joining us right about now, they need to know more about how life was for you like as an orphan. So give us, an analysis of how you coped, especially in Nigeria back then, as an average kid and of course, as an orphan.
Well, yeah, that I would say was very challenging, growing up without parents, and then it's more challenging. Like it's more vivid now, like looking back. But to be honest with you, like during my time growing up, I did not see all these challenges. I did not perceive them or understand because like they say, sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like I didn't know better. Like I didn't have a lot to compare with my life. It's also a slightly different generation because we didn't have smartphones, and like I didn't have people to compare. I was just growing up in the village. So for me, I thought that was life. I lost both parents at a very tender age. I needed to go to school, which for me was, because both of my parents were educated, was a dream handed down. I knew that school was the, only options, or about one of the main options for me. And my challenges mainly were in the line of my dream, to go to school. So I encountered challenges from primary school. There was a time we had to pay school fees in primary school. So every time they say school fees, then I'm off school, and I'll stay like for 1 year, and then maybe something happened and we get some money and I go back again. On one of such occasions, I started working. There was an neck, as it's called that time. They were doing registration, and there's a polling booth in front of my house. So I was off school, elementary school, because of school fees. So I went there and started sweeping the place where they stay before they come for the registration, neck registration for election. I would go and sweep the place, bring out their tables and their chairs. And then when they completed the registration, one of them, there were three of them, one of them paid me for the duty. And then I used the money and quickly go back and paid my school fees. And up to secondary school, I was not supposed to go to secondary school because I had an elder, a brother who, was beginning to pick up, beginning to make some money. And he was the only person in my family making money, that time. He was a mechanic, working in a mechanic workshop in the city, and he would bring us clothes and bring us food. So that was the year I finished primary school, and I was looking forward to go to secondary school, but my brother died that year. So that was like a big tragedy for me, and I lost hope because he was about the only person who could bring money from my family. So, but something happened that was, I would term, divine. There was an organization in my town that floated a scholarship, for tuition fee for secondary school. They said it was for first 3 years, and I enrolled. And then I went and wrote the very competitive exam. And then at about the time I was beginning to look for, this, our people used to go and learn trade, so I was already planning to go and learn trade in Kano or something. And then one day people called me like, yeah, they announced your name at church. You are one of the beneficiaries of the scholarship. And that was how I jumped into secondary school, even though they were paying just the tuition fee. When I started secondary school, I also went into business. So in the local market, they knew me. I started selling salt in wheelbarrows. So during weekends and on holidays, I will hawk salt around. So I made some money to buy books, to buy sandals, all the uniform things, that because they were strictly paying tuition fee. And it was like, when I started secondary school, tuition fee was like 50 naira. But it was a lot of money. We couldn't afford it. My mom was not working, and my siblings were in school, and we did not have any support, not any support at all. So I hustled and got money and continued secondary school. And then when I went to a different secondary school, I lost contact with my local, market. So I switched to, because the secondary school I went to after my SS1 was close to a university campus. So I quickly made friends with undergraduates, and I would go and wash their clothes, clean their rooms for money. Sometimes they give me soap, they give me cream. Some of them give me, food and used clothes. So, one of them gave me the school uniform. It was It was funny because he was a lady. So she gave me ladies' trouser, but it was white. So I didn't even know that it was ladies' trouser. My school uniform is white and white. So I will wear the trouser and go to school, and people will be looking at me funny. But I didn't care because all I know is I'm wearing white and white, and I was studying my physics and chemistry, and that was how I completed secondary school.